Why is it important to teach your child responsibility? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all about parenting, good communication, and how to build strong family bonds through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about building responsibility. In this video, we're going to talk about responsibility and how it impacts your child. And then we're going to be talking about ways that you can improve teaching responsibility to your children. Responsibility actually means the state of being accountable or answerable. So what this means is that a person recognizes they have to answer ultimately for what they have done. Now in Webster's 1828 dictionary, he actually brings God into it, basically saying that we are all answerable to him, right? For all the things that we do in our lives. So I love Webster's 1828 dictionary, my favorite dictionary, because he always brings the history of the world into all of his definitions and where these words have come from. But the whole idea behind responsibility is that a person knows no matter what they do, they will have to answer to somebody. Even if it's just to God, they will have to answer for what they've done. My husband and I used to always tell our foster children, you know what, you can lie about things now. You can try to hide things, but at one point or another, you will have to answer for it. You will have to face it for yourself, even if nobody else ever faces it for you, because it will be a stumbling block for you. So we would help these troubled teens work through difficult issues. And during this time, many of them would resort to lying because they didn't want to take responsibility for their own actions and thoughts and behaviors. And we would say, listen, if we don't catch you every time and you get away with it sometime, ultimately, you're creating your own beast. That's what a lot of people don't understand, is that lying doesn't get you out of responsibility. Dodging it for a moment with manipulation, in the end, doesn't change the responsibility. So what does this responsibility or feeling of responsibility do for our children? Many people don't like to put burdens on children. I understand that. Giving a child responsibility could seem like a heavy burden, but actually accepting responsibility and following through a responsibility actually increases confidence. So what are the types of responsibilities that we often give our children? Well, usually it's things like chores, right? Or schools might give a child homework as a responsibility. These are things that they have to remember to do, and then they have to make themselves follow through and check back with somebody else. Well, that actually is the process of following an instruction. I'm going to talk about how to teach your children to follow instructions here in a minute. But first, do you see that button that says subscribe? Click on that button now, and you will get to see more videos that will help you teach responsibility and a whole bunch of other character qualities to your children. Click subscribe now. So when children get the opportunity to accept responsibility for themselves, it actually makes them more honest people, which is fantastic because they have to self-assess instead of blame other people. So when you correct a child, you're giving them the opportunity to accept responsibility for your actions. Also, when you teach a child a skill, you are now giving them the opportunity to follow through with using that skill, which then helps develop more responsibility. Over time, as a person develops good responsibility, they naturally become more self-governing. When a person is self-governing, they give themselves instructions, themselves know answers. They disagree appropriately with other people, and they can accept the consequences for their own behaviors and thoughts. They are a proactive person that assesses what they do and starts to make better plans for the future. This is a very powerful person, a person who is not afraid to see their own problems and decide to make changes. Our children, if they develop this type of responsibility, which is called self-government, end up becoming more emotionally mature. They oftentimes have better communication with people, better relationships. They have more confidence also in all the things that they do, and usually live with more purpose and less excuses in their life. So overall, they become more productive if they get the opportunity to accept responsibility when they're growing up. So let's talk about skills and what type of skill development is going to be really helpful for your children. No matter the age, there are 4 basic skills that I teach parents to teach children. And these children's books each teach one of those 4 basic skills. Now, obviously, these children's books are probably for children like 12 and under. The language isn't babyish. It's very relevant to their lives, but it's a picture book, right? So you see these children learn the 4 basic skills: following instructions, accepting consequences, disagreeing appropriately, and accepting no answers and criticism. When a person learns these 4 basic skills, that takes care of 99% of their behavioral problems. The one skill that I want to talk about the most today is this one: following instructions. Following instructions totally relates to accepting responsibility, because when a person is truly responsible, they learn to give themselves instructions. Well, how do they learn to give themselves instructions and follow through? By accepting instructions and following through when a parent or teacher or somebody else in charge of a child gives instruction. There are 5 steps to following an instruction. They are to look at the person or the situation, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, that's one of our other skills, do the task immediately, and then check back. So how would that apply to, say, a chore? Well, a parent would say to their child, for your chore, I need you to do the dishes. And the child would look at their parent, say, okay, keep completely calm, go do the chore, and then come back to the parent and check back. It's that point of return when they are checking back to the parent that is the message not just to the parent but to the child that they were responsible. They did it. It's this moment that reminds the parent to now praise the child, right? So how would this work with homework? Well, the teacher says, your homework assignment is to do this math page tonight. So the child takes the math page. Doesn't necessarily say okay to the teacher, but they take the math page home. And then they have to decide, okay, when am I going to do this math page? Right when I get home? After dinner? When's going to be the time to work on my homework? So then they instruct themselves, okay, I think I will do it right when I get home, just so that I can get it out of the way. So the child gets home, tells themselves, get the math paper done. So they are saying okay to themselves, getting it done. They look at the math paper, they're checking back with themselves. So that's how they made it happen. And then when they get back to school the next day, they turn it in, and that's their check back with the teacher. The teacher is not going to say, yay, you turned in your homework assignment. But the child already knows that they did it, they followed through. And so they can actually have a little self-praise. And when they're getting good grades because they're turning everything in, that's when the praise comes. It's a little bit more delayed, but they still end up getting that. So having that feedback for the child when they follow through or don't follow through with an instruction is super important. Praising a child is going to be the #1 most effective way to get them to repeat a good behavior. So make sure your praises are good, very descriptive language as opposed to just like, yay, language. And then the child will be able to repeat whatever it is. But we also have to do corrections when things don't go right. Correcting a negative behavior is going to lead to taking more responsibility in the future, but it's got to be done well. So let's talk about that feedback step. In my TSG parenting course, I go into a lot of detail about how to correct children in a calm and effective way that will reach the heart of the child and help them want to have a change of heart in their behavior. I'm just going to share with you a few things right now that you can do to help correct behaviors in a more effective manner. One thing is, don't react. When something happens that was not done right, maybe they didn't follow through, don't get emotional. Don't take it personally. This isn't about you. And even if it is about you, don't let it be about you. It's a behavior. Children do behaviors all day long. People all do behaviors all day long. It is our job to train them, to teach them and guide them. We should not be reacting to all of this because they're not perfect yet. They're children, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to start by describing the situation to them instead of reacting to the situation. By telling a story about the situation, excluding any emotional outbursts or any emotions that you are feeling in that description, is a good way to keep you and the other person in the front part of the brain so that they can now assess the situation instead of react to the situation. So the opposite of having a good relationship and taking responsibility is reacting and developing reactionships, which I made that up, but you know what that means, right? That you now are just reacting to each other all the time. This is damaging for the relationships in the family. But when a person takes full responsibility for themselves, their communication, they stay in front brain when they're solving problems. This leads to increased connection and relationships for parents and children, well, really anyone in a relationship. So if you've enjoyed this video, I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy a full-length class that I have here on my channel called The Expectation Trap versus the Cycle for Success. That's going to go into some details about how we fall into traps in our correcting and what we can do instead. So I highly recommend clicking on the link to that video now. I'll see you there.